All right, good evening, everyone. I'm gonna try something a little different tonight because right now I'm sitting outside. I'm gonna show you what I'm looking at, which is pretty much nothing right now. But when I got home earlier, there was quite a bit going on. There was lots of things in the sky, and of course, my phone was completely out of memory. Even though I delete like major stuff constantly, somehow every time I go to video, especially when I'm trying to like go live and show you all, completely out of memory, and then it just keeps going blank, blank, blank. So the other night when I was trying to video the X that was in the sky over me, which was a big deal for me because this happens a lot, but this one was just even more blatant than normal. Every time I would go to video that, which is why you guys didn't get a good shot of that, my phone would just shut off, like over and over and over. So, I mean, in my opinion, my opinion is, well, my heart, I know that it's being done on purpose. Hold on, let's check this out really quick because Cammie's looking now. Not to mention the dogs are going nuts right now, so I'm just gonna keep talking and maybe, maybe they'll just show their little selves because they usually do. So anyways, in my opinion, that's being done on purpose, as well as some of my best videos I've ever had. Those two have disappeared somehow. I mean literally disappeared somehow. I can't find them. They're not on my iCloud drive. They are not on my computer. They are not anywhere to be found. Maybe I'm just being skeptical, but I don't think so. But I'm just saying that because somebody's going to say that to me. So, I'm, like I said, I'm pretty smart. Actually, I got a pretty high IQ, believe it or not. I know, right? Who knew? Because I'm such a dork. But long story short, too, with that, where I'm going with this is, it seems like whenever I do try to go live, they too don't want to, if they do show themselves, it's not for very long. So I'm not going to go live tonight, but I am going to sit here and just kind of keep us all occupied for a moment until I see something. If I see something. If not, you're just going to have to deal with me. Lo siento, señorito. But it's the way it goes. All right, so I want to point something out, and I want to know if anyone else has noticed this. So there's webcams throughout the whole world, right? I've been watching them for years, years. And you can see some pretty funky stuff on those. And I don't know if any of you have seen some stuff on those webcams, but if you haven't, start watching them. You're going to see some crazy things, I'm telling you. You're going to see what I consider cloaked ships or cloaked interdimensional beings portraying a ship, so to speak, in the sky. Sometimes you'll notice that they are literally feeding off of the electricity below in the city. You will see it. That's a little abnormal. Sounds much like the Mustangs and shiny black Mustangs that seem to follow me everywhere too. Yeah, no, I'm not being skeptical. I promise you that happens, as well as airliners, whatever you want to call them, that fly over a lot. Black helicopters, the most. I get the black helicopters flying over me all the time. And I know I'm not the only one getting this. So like I said, there's nothing special about me. I might be a dork, but there's nothing special. But when I say it's happening, it's happening. So I'm going to go back to what I was saying a moment ago about how they are feeding off of the electricity from the cities. And I don't know if anyone else has observed this, but sometimes they will throw what I consider a blanket, like an electrical filled blanket, over the city, and it'll cover a certain portion, and then it will draw some more electricity up from what other measures, what other sources they can get. And then you'll see them throw another blanket, so to speak, until they have covered a certain or general area. And the reason I am pointing this out and asking you all to watch those cameras, because I myself, aside of watching those webcams, have experienced this energy being drawn from whether it be me or my home or the electricity in my home, or I myself can literally hold a flashlight and I can drain the batteries in no time, which is why I now have one that I can just put on a charger and it recharges. But my car battery, I've had to change 3 times. My dad keeps asking, why is your car battery dead again? What are you leaving open? And And what am I going to say? Well, Dad, I am just like highly charged electrical being. I mean, I don't really know what to tell him. But I mean, it is true. And I know that there are a lot of you out there that can do the same thing. Maybe you just don't know it yet. But I mean, it does happen. And for whatever reason, these things are drawing electricity from field sources. I myself am drawing them. Sometimes I will notice that like my light in my bedroom per se will get super bright, but I can see like the beams coming like right at me, like in my eyeballs. Whatever that means, I don't know. But I mean, I'll walk in a room and all of a sudden the lights will just get really bright. But then sometimes they'll just like, the bulbs go out a lot, like pretty much every other day probably. So I don't keep too many bulbs in the house anymore. But another thing, when you're driving down the highway, if you see, or if you looked at your phone, I guess, because a lot of people can't see with their own eyes yet, but they will. I mean, it's just a matter of time. But when you are driving down the highway and you see like car headlights coming at you, or street lamp lights, or any type of like, you know, a billboard sign lit up, if you notice though, sometimes those lights, the beams of those lights are being drawn upward. Like, I mean, literally upward. You can see that they'll just be like one ray going in one direction. Sometimes they will be going sideways. Sometimes they will be going directly towards you, or like my instance, me. But I mean, if you follow that light beam to where it's going, you might be surprised what you see. So I do challenge all of you to try it. I mean, just use your phone, take some video, observe, especially at night. Zoom in, zoom out, and then after you get your video and you see something that catches your eye, stop it, zoom in, blow it up, then crop it, and then get closer and closer and closer, and you will be surprised what you do see. So with that said, where I'm going with this is, whatever is here is feeding off of our electrical fields and sources. And also keep in mind, we are electrical beings. Our bodies, we are electrical beings. We submit a charge. Like, we are basically consciousness, light, and electricity. We really are. So I have to wonder sometimes, are they feeding off of us? Are they feeding off of our energy, you know, diminishing? I mean, look around. Look at how the world acts now. I mean, everyone's just, I don't know about you guys, but I mean, I think everyone's more tired than normal, exhausted all the time. And of course, that is a lot due to Big Brother. Bless his little heart. He's a little sweetie pie, and I'd like to kick him in the nuts. But anyways, a lot of that is due to that. But I really think that they are drawing from us. And if we don't change our frequency levels to a higher frequency, you know, we're going to stay on their level, and they're going to continue to draw. So now the next thing I'm going to say is, here's how you do that. You change your way of thinking. You change your way of looking at others, treating others, speaking to others. And trust me, it is not easy, because you've heard me go off a freaking million times. But, you know, sometimes if we just catch ourselves and we're just like, you know, we have to use that compassion and that thought process of, well, we don't really know their story or why people may act like they do. We don't really know what actually has led them up to the point that they are right there and then in life. And that maybe they're just acting out or lashing out in that way because they don't know any other way to act, especially when these beings are feeding off of their happiness, so to speak, their frequency of happiness. So the only way to change that is by changing all of us together, the way of thinking, the way of helping, the way of loving, the way of laughing, the way of giving, the way of communicating, the way of removing our negativity 100% in general. And I promise you, the more of us that do that on a daily basis, like when we see someone, they cut us off in, you know, the traffic or whatever, and we're pissed, and we're just like, you know, here's my middle eye, which is the finger, but, you know, it looks like an eye, so I'm gonna go with I. I mean, you know, an I is in the alphabet, not like I is in my eye. I know you guys know that. Pretty funny, huh? But really, though, I mean, if we all did that, like on a straight across level, even if we fail, you know, we always realize, like, oops, I screwed that one up, but, you know, catch it next time. If we worked on that every single day, we would change this world in general, but we would also change whatever it is that's here, feeding off of our energy, diminishing our happiness, diminishing our livelihood, like everything about us. They're thriving off of it. And I've had many people say, oh, they're angelic beings, blah, 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 this, that. I think there are some. I do. I'm not going to argue with you because I don't have the answers. But here's what I do know. What can it hurt by trying to be a better and more decent person? What could that really hurt? And what if I'm right? Or what if, the thought of that actually being what they're doing is correct? And I hate to tell you all this, but I do believe that that's what they're doing. I mean, we're all familiar with the Nephilim and the Anunnaki, and, the fact that is it's a very real thing. And it's talked about through every culture throughout the entire globe, how there were those that came to this world. You can call them aliens, you can call them the Anunnaki, you can call them interdimensional beings, you can call them whatever you want, mofos, I don't even care. But there were those that came to this earth, and they saw that the women of men were beautiful, and they mated with them, and they created what we know as the Nephilim. The Nephilim sometimes had deformities. Sometimes they were like cyclopses, and they were giants. They were very big. But keep in mind, the Anunnaki were much bigger, hence the megalithic structures. And I know I'm getting a little bit deep right now, so I'm going to try to take baby steps with this. But just keep in mind that there was these beings that did come here, and they are here, and they have been here. But as we approach closer to that era of end, and don't be alarmed or afraid when I say the era of end, I mean the end of the nonsense. And there's nothing to fear, but as we approach that, they are back making themselves way more relevant. They're trying to take as many of us as they can, because they do not want our souls, our wonderful beings that we are. And by the way, we are pretty gifted, believe it or not, all of us to some level, but they don't want us to ascend. They don't want us to, others call it the heavenly realm. They don't want us to go to the better place. There are those, I say people, I guess you could call them people of their own, but there are those that do want us to, and some call those the angels. Others call those the light beings, or the good guys. I mean, there's different names, but it's just kind of a no-brainer. You have the good, the bad, and the ugly. I've seen all three. I have seen all three. In my body, my mind, my heart, my soul, the temperature, I know the difference. But that battle is real. The battle that's been going on above us, below, as above, so below. I mean, it's true as can be. There's a battle going on. It's being fought as we speak. And it's going to be won. But the thing is, there are still going to be some of those that don't get to be in on that glory of the win. There are some of those that will go with those that wanted them to ascend elsewhere. So there's your heaven and hell. There's your good and bad. There's your, space odyssey versus your, wormhole going to Nowhereville. I don't even know how to explain it, but I think you guys know where I'm going with this. And I try to put it into the best terminology that I can, but I'm not a genius when it comes to that. I don't know. None of us know. So, when people want to pretend like they do know the answers or they do know what's going on, nobody knows. But the best thing that you can do for all of us, including yourself and your family or anyone that you love or cherish, or nobody at all, but just love yourself first, and then learn how to love others the same. Love thy neighbor, and just keep on trying. Even when you fall down, just dust that dirt off, pick yourself up, wipe away those tears, and carry on. Just carry on. It's all we can really do, but what can it hurt? it can't hurt. And I'll tell you, if it doesn't like completely win, at least it'll put one hell of a dent into what we're trying to fight here. So we're warriors anyway. We are warriors and we are gifted. Guess what, guys? Look behind me. Can you see it? Maybe that's our angel. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's definitely there. Hold on, I'm trying to look with you. All right, I'm gonna have to turn this clip off and start over. Secondary film here coming up next, okay? Bear with me.